Welcome back. I think this is our third video on wood turning, and today we're going to feature tools. And our next one, we're going to feature machines. So here I have a whole array of tools. So this is about a 40-year collection of various tools. Now let me show you what a standard set of tools, if you went to buy them, you would get a skew, and you would get a round nose, and you would get a part-off tool, which is this one right here. And that's pretty much of a standard set. There's other variations of these, but I would call these three a standard set that you would need to really get into turning. Now, while we're talking about tools, let's talk about gouges. Well, I missed that in that, yeah. This would be, I'll go along with a standard set. Here we have a gouges come in all different sizes. Here we have a real wide one, and we have an intermediate one. Here we have a little guy that I like, which is a gouge. And here we have another one. As you can see, I like gouges. I like gouges and skews. But anyway, gouges come in different widths. This big guy right here, got too many tools. This big one right here, I bought that at a sale about 40 years ago, and if you can find one of these, lots of luck. They're hard to find. If you look up on the handle, I don't know if we can get a close-up here, you can see there's a circle that has a B in it. That means W Butcher. That is from the butcher at Sheffield Steel. They don't make tools of this quality anymore. They're hard to find. If you find a big gouge like this, be willing to pay whatever you have to get it, because the modern tools do not have the quality of the old Sheffield Steels, and they just don't hold up as well. I sharpen this guy probably a couple times a day, where modern tools you'll sharpen 10 times a day. So this guy, I love it. Now let me show you what you can do with a bigger gouge versus a small one. So we're going to take this gouge. Now let's put a small one on there, a small gouge. Does the same thing, but it doesn't cover as much territory. In other words, now let's use this little guy. Same shape as the other one, it's a gouge, and you can see the difference. It takes longer. You don't have as much control over the little one. Here's another one of my favorites. Another gouge. You can turn them on the side. You can do concave shape, convex. And it should be pretty obvious that you can't do that with this guy because it's just too big. So gouges come in all different widths. But to start out with, you basically only need one. This is the kind you'd be looking for if you really got into wood turning, like I have been for the past 40 years. So now let's talk about skews. This is a standard skew if you went to buy it. I sharpen them a little bit different, and when we get into sharpening tools, I'll show you what we can do with that. Now the gouge, or the skew, you just lay the short side, and a lot of people have a lot of difficulty using a skew, but I think I've mastered it. Let me try another one. I don't like that one. Let's try this one. I like that one. And you can go this way. Now you're not supposed to be able to do this with a skew. You're not supposed to be able to do concave cuts. But if you grind them right, you can get away with it. As long as you don't let that tip catch. You can do concaves. Convexes are easy. Concaves are a little more difficult. As you can see, you almost bend the tool around there. This is not easy to do. It will take many years of practice. And then if we shut it off, and we can get a close-up look at that, it's about as smooth as you can get. Now you can do that same shape with a round nose tool, and this is what 9 out of 10 turners will use, this round nose tool, and I'll put him in here and I'll go like this. You have better control, but the finish will not be near as good. You can do that, but you will be limited. It's not as smooth, and it's just not the way that it's done. And the way you get good at it, it's like playing the piano. You just keep practicing. And pretty soon you get to the point to where you don't have to sand, you don't have to do a thing. All right. Part off tool is real simple. Just what it says. Let's take that thing off of there. Part off tool, very simple. Okay, let's show you, let's sharpen some of these tools. If you're going to sharpen the skew, that's this guy right here. Okay, I've had people come up to me at a show and they'll say, hey, I got a lathe a year ago. Do you sharpen your own tools? Well, I sharpen tools probably every 5 minutes, especially a skew. And I always have a little grinding wheel here next to my machine so that I can keep a tool real sharp. So in order to sharpen a tool, get your grinding wheel going. And they say never use the side of a grinding wheel. Well, that's all great in theory, but I use the side of the tool, the grinding wheel, and I just go like this. As long as you keep moving back and forth, you'll keep the grinding wheel flat. I need to get on this side because I'm right-handed. Now, if you look at that tool real close, we don't want to burr on there. We want it nice and sharp. So now let's go over to the lathe. Let's see how it cuts. Good. Let's do a little concave thing. How about a convex? Try this. Now you can do it either way. You can do that the long side. I prefer the short side. Oops. Okay.
1, 2, go.
Okay, sharpening a gouge, they're very simple. I'm not real fussy about, some guys will sit down and they'll take a stone and they will stone their tools and spend minutes and 5-10 minutes on stoning them. I use about 120 grit grinding wheel, and I simply use the side of the wheel, give it a couple of those, take a look at it, and feels. And once again, you don't want to burr in here, and there isn't one in there because I have about 120 grit grinding wheel. So let's sharpen another gouge. Let's take this little guy. Oh, this medium sized one here. He looks a little rough. I prefer the other side of the wheel. Now, if you notice, it's not straight across the front. It's kind of irregular, and the most important thing about a tool is that it be sharp. Some guys, they're very anal about getting the tool exactly right. I don't lose a lot of sleep over it. I want it to be sharp. That's all I'm interested in, that it's sharp. So let's see what it does. in. You know, this cutting versus scraping stuff, now here's what most guys would do. They would take the, first of all, let's take a look, see what that finish looks like. It's pretty good. Very good. Nice and smooth. You wouldn't even have to sand that. Now, if you're going to use it, you can get the same result. Not the same result, but you can do this round nose tool, and you can get in here and you can go like this. But you just don't get the quality of the finish. I don't know if you can really see that, but it just isn't near as smooth as if you use the gouge. So let's go back to the gouge. Turn it on the side. And see another thing, see this little line in here? If you were going to use a round nose tool, you could never get rid of that. If you learn how to use a skew, you can come right in there, take that right out of it. Oops, you can take that right out of there, just like that. You couldn't, now look how crisp that is. You couldn't begin to do that if you took this round nose tool and you brought him in there. Because of the radius of it, you could never get it sharp and crisp like that. It would be impossible. If you learn how to use the skew, you can bring that right down into here. You get it nice and sharp. And would require very little sanding, if any. So, those are the basic tools.